name is Lou Miles.
I'm Rita Zielinski.
We are running for Chippewa Valley School Board right here in Michigan, but hope this video will give insight to parents, teachers, school boards, as well as candidates and communities across the country. It will show the public education system and how it is entangled with the larger system we were all born into. It will be up to you to share it. The one tool we use to create this video will be in the links below, along with several other tools that anyone in any profession can use to do their own research. Chippewa Valley's Board of Education often state that it is their job to represent all children, parents, and the community as a whole. A board member runs as a nonpartisan candidate, and they are the first level of local government that state an oath to the Constitution and are to protect the rights of the families they serve. The following information may look one-sided, but understand, the only way for the system to look that way it does would be for the other side to have allowed it and benefited from it.
Though this can look very overwhelming, we want to encourage all to educate themselves at your own pace. This information can answer so many questions and is also why it seems impossible to fix anything. It's actually quite the opposite, getting informed candidates, such as Lou and myself, into positions where they have access to see what is going on, while having more of an informed community to not only understand but push for action. This is the scenario that will make a better school district for our children and America in general. Lou and I plan to win the 2 seats open on Chippewa Valley's Board of Education, take a deep dive from the inside, bring information to the public, and work to disclose and dissolve all relationships with any organization with political or ill-intended motives. Chippewa Valley schools should represent every child under one flag, no matter how different the children may be. We will push to get back to the basics while putting Chippewa first. Let's begin. All right. So for the first board, it shows some very important moments in history. And for the sake of time, we're not going to go through the whole board in detail, but I do want you to see a visual of when America changed and some key events that created the system. I want to stop first though and thank Derek Johnson for his education that he's provided when it comes to the knowledge and being able to create this board for you. So I'm going to simply read it. At the very top, we have our globalists and our elites, also known as the invisible enemy. We have the Organic Act of 1871, which is where Ulysses S. Grant borrowed money, putting us back under the crown. Organic Act of 1878, the U.S. became a federal corporation. That's our federal government. In 1878, the Bar Association, which stands and still stands for British Accreditation Registry. American Library Association was founded in 1876. The Federal Reserve, founded in 1913. Eisenhower's last speech, which you can look up and listen to, is 1941. He warned about the military and medical complex. Eisenhower had created an agency that remained hidden for 30 years until Watergate to oversee the actions of these complexes in hopes to be able to flip the country back on its foundation. We left the gold standard in 1968, and then Nixon shock was 71, 72, 73. So the federal government or the federal corporation, every country has one under the same. The pillars include the economy, the agriculture, the education, the military-industrial complex, and big pharma. And then if you branch from there, you'll find our 4th unelected branch of government, and that would take us to corporations, associations, and foundations. So let's take a look at Chippewa Valley Schools system. I want to start with the American Library Association, the ALA, 1876. The council adopted the Bill of Rights in 1939. They sponsor Banned Book Week, which promotes the most challenged books. They stand for DEI, far left ideology, selective censorship, book reconsideration formats that Chippewa Valley uses comes from them. They avoid issues of age appropriation, conservative views, and they're strong advocates for liberal expansion, immigration policies, LGBTQ, and BLM. And just to mention, they do have another group that branches off of them. It's called For the People. It's a leftist library project. It combats conservative efforts to monitor content, expand left-wing agendas, trains young activists. They are for abolishing the police, and they recruit local and state people to counter parents at school board meetings. An example would be the Moms for Liberty. Coming up here, we have Neola, formed in 1986. They are a for-profit organization influencing our school policy making with an emphasis on highly controversial topics to impose radical ideology within the school system. They are in 393 Michigan districts, and they are in 6 states. They create Chippewa's district website policy, administrator guidelines, procedures, best practices, policy, bylaws. They're known to track the hot topic issues, draft policy language to get ahead of those issues. They support critical race theory, BLM, equity as an outcome, DEI, and general counsel. They are partnered with the MASB, which is the Michigan Association of School Boards, and also with the National School Boards Association, the SBA, and they were formed in 1940. The National School Boards Association is a federation of state education organizations that pressure elected officials to push left of center policies. In 2021, they coordinated with the Biden administration to investigate parents at school board meetings. They're against school of choice. They tout their corporate sponsors and increased taxpayer funding. Their affiliated organizations are the Council of School Attorneys, Center for Public Education, their sister organization, the National School Boards Action Center, lobbying and pressure campaigns to advance their left of center policy proposals. Now we move into the School Superintendents Association, AASA, formed in 1973, formerly part of the NEA, the National Education Association. Most of the revenue comes from fees, and then the Gates Foundation, Wallace Foundation, and Kellogg Foundation. Remember the top of the first board. Providing leadership training for educators, educational equity. In 1865, they began as the National Association of School Administrators. They merged with the National Teachers Association and the American Normal School Association in 1870. National Education Association's Department of Superintendents. Their most recent donors include the Rakes Foundation and the Zuckerbergs from Facebook.
So just keep in mind too, as you see how this chart kind of flows around like this, all the arrows that go to all the different organizations, right? Everything is tied to everything else. The School Superintendents Association, which goes to the NEA, but also Chippewa Valley Schools District goes directly with the NEA. So everything is tied in. But let's move on from this to the National Education Association, founded in 1857. They're the largest labor union, 97% support to Democrats or liberals. They're a major contributor to left of center nonprofit organizations. 1960s required districts to collective bargaining. 1980 to 1994, donations to congressional candidates from 4,000 to 3.7 million. Over $6 million in 2020, 873,000 to Democrats, 5.1 million against Republicans.
Wait a second, did you see how upset the NEA was about the Chevron case that just got, heard and overturned. They're very upset about it. Actually, I think was it the CEO or who she called, but she went on a huge rant about it, the president. And then I just heard today too that Microsoft is dropping their whole DEI department. And it appears as though that Chevron case is going to be very, very good for the people to kind of rein in some of these organizations with what they're doing. So I'm sorry, go ahead. I just thought I'd throw that in there for whoever's watching. You should check out the NEA's website, they're very upset.
Yes, NEA President Becky Pringle.
Oh,
If
you have the article.
Yeah, I do. If you do a little research on that, she goes on quite a tangent. But anyway, we'll get away from that. Back to here. The NEA advocates for left-of-center positions on education and political issues, such as critical race theory. They're a member of the Partnership for Future Learning, a network of over 300 progressive organizations. Example, 2021 report card by Parents Defending Education noted NEA's spending in 2021, $7.5 million, training union members to advocate for racial justice in the classrooms and $32.9 million to elect union-friendly candidates in 2022. 9/11, the terrorism, we all remember that. The NEA issued guidelines on how teachers to discuss the attacks in their classrooms. The sentiment being what is wrong with America. So we have, going from there, we have the NEA Foundation. Their donor organizations consist of the Ford Foundation, the National Education Association, Sherwood Foundation, Kellogg Foundation, Walmart Foundation, a lot of which we've already heard throughout the board so far. Their associated organizations, the NEA Advocacy Fund, they're a political party.
527.
527.
There's a lot of those.
And the Schott Foundation, which come down here, Racial Justice, Racial Equity Grant Makers, which is the Schott Foundation. They're about CRT, anti-law enforcement, history of John Jackson's role with the ABA, the American Bar Association, which we heard about on the first board. Supports and lobbies for criminal justice, immigration, LGBTQ, gun control, abortion, and again, the British Accreditation Registry, 1878, the Bar Association.
So down here we have the other one is the MEA, and that was formed in 1852. Just to mention, the MEA actually started 5 years before the National Education Association. They actually started in Michigan, in Ypsilanti, which is pretty incredible. But I wanted to stop here for a moment and point out, before we keep going, that the tool that we will be giving at the end, you can take any one of these entities that are in blue, and you can actually go look them up and see who they're affiliated with and where they branch to, and you can actually create a board for each of them. If we looked at a lot, like had more on here, we could fill walls, but this, we wanted to give you the visual of what the system looks like. So along with that, with the MEA, let's take a look at what they look like. All right, so let's look at the MEA, the Michigan Education Association in 1852. It was founded. But before we do that, I'd like to mention that all of the associations and the unions and all of these organizations that we're presenting today, we don't want to come across as that we're looking at all of the members or the people associated as being bad people. We're simply trying to point out where you can look it up and there'll be references that back up what we're saying today, that the actual organization or the actual association is known for this or is funded by these people. So all of our union members, we're not looking at and saying that it's bad. You very well just might not know. And there's probably a lot that don't know, and that's what we're hoping to.
It's not bad either, because I'm a union member and have been for over half my life, so.
My husband's
Just
a
throwing
union
that out
with
there.
law enforcement. So. No, I think a lot of unions are good. I think it's more leadership, and I think it's well, I just think it's a lot of the funding, where the funding comes from that we really need to focus on. And where that funding is trying to take, where they want to go in any of the pillars that we talked about. So that's all I'll say. Thanks. Go ahead, Lou.
Well, let's find out where it goes then.
Yes, let's look.
MEA, one of Michigan's largest labor unions, they're opposed to school choice, lobby for left-of-center policies, and almost exclusively support Democratic candidates with millions every election cycle. 1990, the pension reform debacle, pushed for Proposal 2 in 2012, against right to work, has full-time organizers paid by school districts having no teaching duties, created affiliated healthcare service administrator in 1960, the Michigan Educational Special Services Administration, MESA. They negotiated contracts by the MEA. A portion of the costs go back to the MEA, charge higher fees covered by taxpayers, subcontract services for additional fees, only allowable care provider under many contracts. The vendor for the MEA, Lake Research, 1995. Political polling and research groups, works with left-leaning organizations and Democratic candidates. A few clients include the SEIU Labor Union, AFL-CIO, the NEA, the MEA, the National School Boards Association, National School Boards Action Center, Unite Here, just to name a few. And again, all in blue so you can research those on your own.
I think too, the donation recipients, there's the three major ones. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we want to look kind of closely at America Votes. It's a nonprofit, and it was founded in 2003. It was created to organize and coordinate unions, issue advocacy groups, voter mobilization organizations, and media firms to help elect Democrats. And the funder, I should say, is George Soros, who we've all heard of now. The associated organizations, America Votes Action Fund, Political Party 527, Friends of America Votes, Political Party 527. And the list of coalition members is very, very extensive. There's a few.
A couple quick ones to point out. In here we have Democratic Attorneys General Association, Political Party 527, the Democratic Governors Association, Democratic Legislative Campaign Committee.
And more.
I mean, the list goes on.
So I think what we want to try to just point out is that all of these things are so closely tied into and with these other organizations, including the one that represents our school and the teachers in our schools. But this is voting and social and culture and all the things that we are having so much controversial topics and issues and arguments over. This is how we're seeing it kind of funneling in, and this really does need to be looked at and stopped. We can go into their donor organizations. There's quite a few. I'm going to leave that, but we do have the Open Society in there. We know that we've heard that. The vendors, donation recipients, Alliance for Youth Action, Nevadians for Secure Elections, Planned Parenthood Votes, and then to look at the vendors, we have Act Blue, Civics, the AFL-CIO, Catalyst, Grassroots Solution, and Amalgamated Bank. And I want you to remember Amalgamated Bank because I would like to come back to that. Maybe some people have heard me mention it at school board meetings, but there is a reason that we'll come back to Amalgamated Bank up here. So that's all I'll say for America Votes for now.
Next one on the list under donor recipients, Michigan League for Public Policy, nonprofit, formed in 1912. Excuse me. They're a left-of-center radical policy advocacy organization. They push economic equity, healthcare reform, liberal agendas, funded by numerous grant-making organizations, including, some of which we've already heard, Ford Foundation, W.K. Kellogg Foundation, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Their activities work with state on COVID policy agendas, DEI team to push race-centered policy stance, Argues Michigan taxpayers should cover child care, eviction protections, and widely expanded food stamps and Medicare programs. Some of the donor organizations for them: the Annie E. Casey Foundation, Ford Foundation, Kresge Foundation, Michigan Education Association, Charles Mott, Kellogg, Robert Wood Johnson. So all these ones that we've already heard. And the Energy Foundation, that's a big one. Come down here, they were formed in 1991. United States Energy Foundation, Left of Center Pass-Through Foundation, that's something that is good to look up. Funded and supported by left-wing organizations, describes itself as a grant maker, meaning it bundles vast sums of money from donors to far-left political causes under the guise of philanthropy. One other one that we were going to put down here, we didn't get to it, we're still kind of looking into it, is MISEC, Michigan Schools Energy Cooperative. I don't remember when they were formed. They, a lot of the districts in the state go through them for their energy services, their gas and electric services.
Snyder, right? With Snyder Electric?
No, Schneider, not Schneider. It has nothing to do with the former government. But we brought this up at meetings before I first called this out a while back. Our board entered into a 15-year contract agreement with MISEC to have some of their electrical delivered to the schools through a solar farm in Genesee County that's not even built yet. As of right now, it's still not built and operational, yet we entered into a 15-year contract with that.
We have millions invested.
We send MISEC millions of dollars for our energy, gas and electric.
Okay.
When I first started looking into them, I found out that one of our assistant superintendents of finance sat on that board as their president. When I called that out at a board meeting, shortly thereafter, he was moved from the president to just a regular seat on the board. We were told that this is normal procedure, that they shift their people around all the time. If you look back at some of their leadership and their board, it's
very
been
sporadic. It's like 15 months, and then the president's and then another one 9 months. So
it goes back and forth. Some people come, some people go, some people have been there for the whole time. So
it's questionable.
But that's something else that we have to look into as far as with the energy goes, because that's a big one. We give this corporation millions and millions of dollars every month, so that's a big one.
All right. Let's finish it up with Progress Michigan, nonprofit, formed in 2007. It's one of 22 state-level networks of Progress Now, liberal groups to support left-wing networking and rapid response communications. So it engages through social media, online, news releases, and comments for mainstream media. It targets Republican candidates, initiatives, and conservative or libertarian-leaning organizations. The funding from foundation or labor unions and environmental groups. Grants from the United Automobile Workers, the UAW, National Education Association, or NEA, American Federation of State and County Municipal Employees, so the AFSCME, Progress Michigan Education, also can be called Engage Michigan, has grants from the Ford Foundation. Other contributors are the MEA, the NEA, the Tides Foundation, another one to look into, Community Foundation for Southwest Michigan. Some other donor organizations, we have the American Federation of Labor Congress, industrial organizations, so that's your AFL-CIO, your Energy Action Fund, your Michigan Civic Action Fund, your New York Community Trust, your Rockefeller, here it is, Lou,
Philanthropy
Advisors, 1630 Fund, and your SEIU, which is your Service Employees International Union. I did branch off just one more for the SEIU, only because, what was formed in 1921, only because I had done with my Michigan group that I was with, or am with, for the last 5 years, we had done a series of GAO reports, Government Accountability Office reports, on things that we had been collectively researching on, and they were tagged as well as Amalgamated Bank, in a very big report that we did, including which kind of had some details about the union member dues and the underfunded accounts. So I actually have that on our last board tonight. I have my submission receipts for the SEC and the Securities Exchange Commission, as well as the GAO. It was done in January of 2022 with the Michigan group, who I would like to stop and thank right now and give them credit for so much of the research capabilities that I have. And Tori Maris, or Tori says, as some people know, who really have played a big part in me becoming who I've got, or who I am. So with that said, that report will be on the last board along with the tools that we've promised. And I encourage you to read through it, especially if you're an educator or a union member. There's the MEA. Alright, so as promised, here are a few of the tools that you can use to research for yourselves. Note that the information provided today was mostly from one website. This website also has a lot of reference links to articles or information that back up what we just got done telling you about those associations. I have noticed, going back to a few, that certain things or articles or references that they have are coming up missing, as though maybe some of these organizations are taking them off of their own websites. So I wanted to include, I just added it today, a very good tool. It's called the Wayback Machine. It's somewhat user-friendly. Once you get in and play around with it, it is awesome. Because if you were to go to one of the associations and click on one of the references to back up what it's saying, and it says it can't be found, then you can actually go to the Wayback Machine, the webarchive.org, put in that website, and it can show you when the website was last updated and all the way back. So you can actually go back 6 months, or you can actually take, for example, the NEA and go back and look at what their meeting calendars were looking like during the pandemic, or just, you can put any website in there and find what they had or what they were talking about a long time ago. So it's a very useful tool. That's what I have.
So, we know that's a lot of information, and if you're still with us, we thank you for that. This is a small sample of some of the research we've been doing the past 4 years. We will continue to do this research as your elected school board members, and we kindly ask for your support as we make this run here into November. So thank you very much. Again, my name is Lou Miles.
I'm Rita Zielinski.
Have a good night.